Today we are reviewing Legendary. This is not just Legendary Civil War. It's just we've compiled all the decks into boxes. So I have lots of cards stuffed into these boxes. In the original, I don't even think I have anymore. There are so many expansions for this game.
This is one of the few expanded games that Rainey and I both own, and we own everything. Yeah. So it's ridiculous how many cards.
A lot of my decks are still sealed. I am not even opened.
All mine are open and organized.
And that means more sleeves that I don't have.
And work.
Yes, that's a lot of effort.
It is a lot.
So yeah, everything with Vision Scarlet, which immediately got sleeved, but beyond that, there's a lot of new sets I have not sleeved yet. This is a deck builder game, and it is semi-co-op. You play to beat the mastermind. It's a cooperative effort, so you can either all lose or all sort of win together, but then once you win,
it's
VIP. Based upon how many points you have total. So there are elements of take that while you're playing, even though it's a co-op, or you make other people discard or suffer injury. Really, that's over in a nutshell the game at a high level. So going into quality of pieces, the cards they're decent. There's no texture to them. Given the fact that if you play this a lot, you're going to be shuffling these cards
for sure.
A lot.
You need to sleeve them.
You really want to sleeve them. That's all there really is to this game. There's a board. They also have play mats and such that you can purchase for it. But I've never purchased the play mats on this one. I've just always used the board. And then other than that, it's just the cards. So I'm going to give it a 7. I don't think it's outstanding quality, but...
I'm actually going a little bit lower. And so one of my biggest gripes with the game is that they did not really provide an organization system to the cards.
That's true.
You have to either make your own, or they do provide some card dividers, but they're not very good for writing. So if you write on them, they smear really easily. So they do, at one Gen Con, they provided stickers. And that helped out a lot. But that was only, I think it was from Dark City, the first expansion in the base game, and that was it. And so the only other way to get them now is like Board Game Geek will have people that create them, so you can print them yourself. But Upper Deck itself does not provide a good organization system, and that drives me nuts. I hate that.
Well, the other thing to take away on it is the art.
Well, I was going to do that with theme because I agree. We're probably going to have the same point. So on that.
All right, so you saying a 6?
I was going to go a 6.
All right, so going on to theme, the theme of this is obviously Marvel. They've now expanded into other themes such as Alien and Firefly.
But they're different games, and you can't really mix them.
But you could mix some of them.
No, I don't think you can.
I think there's legendary, and then there's legendary encounters, and then there's the legendary villains for Marvel.
Because I don't know, do you think this would work with like James Bond or?
Well, I don't know. I'd be interesting to see.
I would
definitely love to introduce some superheroes into the Bond realm.
That might be interesting.
So it's really fun to mix and match the different characters. The grievance that I had, and it's probably again similar to what Rob's was when they first did Legendary. The first decks that they created, every card was exactly the same.
Yeah, the text and the effects were different, but the art itself, every card was exactly the same.
Later on, after the first set, they started doing it where there were collections of cards that changed art based upon the values within it. But all the cards of the same value were still the same. So that improved it. It made it much better. But that first set was very problematic.
And I know we both complained about that pretty emphatically because of all the available artwork they had available to them. Why would they not take advantage of that?
And given that we also play Versus, every card was different art there. It just made no sense why. And Upper Deck owned the rights to Versus. Same company. There was no reason they couldn't have taken and included the art from that. And this does have all original art though, which is nice. It's not Versus copied a lot of the comic book art. This one actually is all original art, which is nice.
And most of the artwork is really nice.
Yeah, there's some that are stickers.
Yeah, there's some the artists I didn't care for, but
yeah,
overall, I think the art is fantastic.
Yeah. So, given that it is pretty good art, and that's the main feature of this, I'm still going to give it a 8 because they've improved it significantly from where they started.
I want to give it an 8 as well, because even though that's a big gist of mine, but you really do feel like you're playing with these heroes. I think they did a good job of their abilities, kind of making you feel like this is what Spider-Man could do, or this is what Jocasta or Black Cat, whoever, that's who we had in this game. But it kind of does give you that feeling of their abilities. Which is really
and
cool.
plus they integrate it well into it. It makes you feel like you're kind of in the comic book realm. And you can mix and match these so many ways and still feels very comic book-esque.
Yeah, there's near infinite replayability to this game.
I so wanted to have Galactus robbing a bank, though. That would have been amazing. There had been absolutely no reason for Galactus to rob a bank, but I wanted. Instead, we had Doctor Doom robbing a bank, which is almost as bad.
Right. But a little bit more believable.
Yeah. So, interesting scenario we played. So we're both agreeing on theme.
Yeah, both
the rule book, this is where things get interesting. It started out as one rule book.
This is your main base rule book. So pretty easy to follow through. I think they did a good job of explaining things.
But
then
each expansion has introduced some additional rules, so they've added.
It's like
this
flyers.
is just a partial list of them. But yeah, now every time you see a keyword, you have to say, "What set was that from?" Okay, now let's go through the pages and find the one.
Yeah, they really should come with a comprehensive rule book by now.
Yes,
you think that they would do something along.
But even then, you're going to have to.
Yeah,
they're still releasing expansions for this.
That's true, but still, you'd think they'd come up with something.
Yeah, you almost have to. You almost have to get a binder and just put them in there. But I'm not sure with the various sizes of them. I mean, these are fairly consistent, but that's totally different. I mean, you'd have to come up with something unique. But yeah, it's a nuisance. It's like, okay, let's set that from and go sifting through 50 pages.
And if you're interested as well, they did do a base set that's compatible with all this with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not all the movies by any stretch of the means. I think it's just mainly the Phase 1 movies that are in that box.
Yeah, I did not like. That was one of my grievances. I did not like mixing those in as far as the art on them,
because it's not art.
And originally
it's
that
photo
was
stills.
Yeah, and that was the only way to get Scarlet Witch originally, because she came out in the live action first before they put her in as a character. So I was a little bummed about that. But yeah, I didn't buy like the Spider-Man Homecoming for that reason. I think that's the only set I don't own is that Spider-Man Homecoming. I did end up buying the Marvel Universe first one, I think.
Yeah, I have them both. I haven't played them because I don't like the difference in artwork. It just really throws off the game. But I do have them.
Yeah. All right, so that was the rules. What are we going to give the rule book? We didn't score it.
I mean, I think the rule book is nice. It's a good rule book, and it's laid out well, and it's fun to read because it kind of feels like a comic book in a way. I'd give it an 8.
I'm a little lower on it, I think, because especially after today's play.
Right, because we were going through the pamphlets a lot.
Yeah, well, not just that. I'm talking about the end of the game. Yeah. We were playing a scenario, and one of the things is the mastermind, you get to hit him 4 times, and each time you're supposed to get a bonus when you beat it. And the bonus I got was take another turn after this one, but the game was over at that point. So do you get the bonus? Do you not get the bonus? There's no clarification in the rules.
In the rule book. So we
went online. We never really found a satisfactory answer to it. You did find a final answer that came from
the developer. He did state that, when you defeat the mastermind the 4th time, game's over immediately. But what's the point of having that final fight ability if you can't take advantage of it?
Yeah, because it seems like it's triggers when you're fighting him, so it should trigger.
It should trigger before the end.
So it's just frustrations like that. But when you're any kind of deck builder game, you run into those type of issues, especially with as many decks as come out. So I give them a little credence on that. I'm going to give it a 7.5. It frustrates me when you run into a rule and have to spend 20 minutes looking it up online and trying to find how do you search for it even, because it's like that's kind of an obscure situation. So yeah, that's my grievance there. So that's rules going on into gameplay. So
This is where the game
yeah,
really shines.
It's a really unique gaming experience. I don't think there's any deck builders like this one. I give Upper Deck a lot of garbage because they've made a lot of dumb decisions over the years.
Yeah.
This game they actually did pretty well with. I still think there were some dumb decisions around the storage and dumb decisions around the initial art, but they've fixed a lot of that. But the gameplay is basically you start out with, depending on number of players, a set of heroes and a set of villains and henchmen that you're going to combine to create a villain deck as far as the heroes don't go in it, the villains and the henchmen. And then there's cards that are called Master Strikes and Scheme Twists, and you put in some innocent bystanders just for fluff.
And so the scheme is all about the story of the game. So it's like what storyline.
And there's a deck of cards that you randomly can choose one or choose the one of your preference.
There's a ton of scheme
and there's
twists.
a ton, yeah.
There's a ton.
So this is the scheme we went with, which is Midtown Bank Robbery. It was a random selection. But I think this is the stack here. Yep. This is the stack of all the scheme
the ones he's
open. There's more in every expansion.
It's crazy.
So we randomly chose the scheme twist. But then each one of those you have a mastermind, which is also you can choose or randomly choose. We chose randomly everything. So we got Dr. Doom. I was really hoping for Galactus, as I said, to rob a bank, but we didn't get it. We got Doom. And then we randomly chose
the heroes.
For our case, 5 hero sets, because with 2 players, you have 5 heroes. We got Legion, we get Kitty Pryde, Jocasta, Old Man Logan, and Black Cat.
Right.
Completely odd combination. Although Black Cat really went well with this theme.
It did. Yeah. Overall, I think they all worked really well, although one was more broken than the others.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that.
So beyond that, you have shield agents, which you start with in your starter deck, which are garbage cards.
Right.
And then you've got an upgraded shield agent, Maria Hill, that gives you more purchasing ability. And you then can use the star values on the cards to purchase cards from your hero deck. And each turn, you're going to flip a villain into the city, and they move from right to left across the table. If they ever make it off the bridge, they escape, and they do a penalty based upon their escaping.
And sometimes it's a double penalty, because the card itself will say if it has the escapability, it'll do something. Yeah. And then your scheme twist usually has something that happens if it escapes.
Yeah. And if they take bystanders with you, that typically triggers end of game for a number of, a lot of the scenarios. Yeah. It's not necessarily, but this one we were playing actually did. If they got away with 8 bystanders, the game would have ended.
And evil would have won.
Yep. And if evil wins, everybody loses.
Right.
So that's the gist of the game. You're trying to improve your deck by buying cards, trashing your initial cards. There was, a good balance of that in this game that we played.
There's comboing in the ability because every card has a class, so it's the type of fighting it can do, and so that card could look at other cards you played previously to do combos.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really neat element. The first one you play of it doesn't work, but after that, any other subsequent. So there's a lot of strategy around when you play your cards, what order you play them in, which is a neat combination that they put into this game. I really enjoy the game mechanics of this. I think it's a neat system they've developed. There's depending on the decks you get, you can run into scenarios though that are just completely unplayable.
Yeah, it's impossible in many cases. So that's where it's hard for randomization because it could randomly create a game where you cannot win.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the frustrations I have with this game is that they should never have a scenario like that happen. And with I think it's Magneto, there's one like that. If you happen to not get any X characters,
if you don't have any X-Men, you cannot beat Magneto.
And I thought that was problematic. I think they've made some dumb decisions like that in the game, but they're not common.
Yeah, but that's, I guess, kind of the issue you would have when you expand a game as big as this. Is it's going to be hard to think about all the different scheme twists or schemes.
Well, but that one was one of the initial ones. I mean, Magneto was the original villains, and they knew they were planning on expanding this thing.
Yeah.
So why you would make it such that you cannot play it? And there were very few X-Men.
Yeah, there wasn't very many X-Men in that set at all. They did an entire X-Men set.
Yeah. But at that time, there was not many mutants in the set. So it was like really a dumb choice for them to do that.
You couldn't really randomize that.
Yeah.
So you had to play with a specific setup.
So yeah, I think there's some bad choices they've made over the years, but I
But
think
as long as
a
you're aware
whole-
of that,
yeah,
you could avoid it,
Yeah.
and then it'll be much more enjoyable.
yeah. So given the fact of the longevity of this game, it's been out for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been very successful and kudos to Upper Deck for getting this right because they screwed up Versus so badly. And,
which we're all, or both of us, are very sad about.
yeah,
It's
so
one of our favorite games.
yeah, so given the fact that they have the history of screwing things up epically,
Yeah.
this one, they got it right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a gameplay of 9. I think it's a very excellent game. I just wish they could have fixed some of those weaknesses.
I agree with the 9, and I just want to reiterate the longevity of the game. There's so many combinations of schemes with the key boss, the master, the mastermind, and there's even another element that came out, I believe, with the Secret Wars 1 that you could play as the mastermind and make it a 1 versus many game. We haven't tried that yet, but I'm looking forward to trying that at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a very diverse game. Now, I will tell you, it's a beast to set up and a beast to take down because you have to mix all the decks together, take them all back apart. You have to figure out what's the right combination of everything you're doing, and it may change. And they have a standard setup, but then you may change it based upon the plot twist you're playing or the mastermind you're playing.
And one of the worst days of my life is I went to a game day up in Indianapolis and took my legendary stuff with me, and it all dumped out my trunk.
Oh,
and
lovely.
It took me like 6 hours to clean it up. It was horrible.
So your gameplay time might range from 1 hour to 6 hours, depending on whether you spill your cards or not in your trunk. I would recommend not doing that.
Don't do it.
Yeah. So if you generally don't want to try to port this anywhere, if you can avoid.
Yeah, you can stay home with it.
Yeah.
It's just, especially, I mean, if you got the base game, fine. But if you're going to expand, stay home and play it.
Because we've got this currently. I think at my house it's in 4 boxes. Plus all the individual ones I haven't sleeved yet. And I'm not even sure what I'm going to put them in because...
I've organized mine into Plano boxes. So then they're stackable and they lock together. And then I got it on a trolley.
But then you still spilled it everywhere.
No, that was before I put it into this system.
Okay. Because as I say, mine's in boxes and I've never spilled it. All right. Well, that's legendary. So, if you want a legendary experience, break this out because it is almost a perfect game.
It almost is. It's really, it's a lot of fun,
and especially if you're a Marvel fan.
It scratches a lot of itches.
I mean, and Marvel way better than DC, by the way.
It's as good as
way better.
That's good.
So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed our review. Come back, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those wonderful things. Yep.
Who's your favorite heroes if you played the game?
Who's your favorite reviewer?
Mastermind? This guy. It's better hair. So, all right. Well, thank you and have a great day.
All right. Bye.
Bye. We could do free advertising, Randy.
I already am.
Trouble for that. There you go. But you can go at the same time.
Don't want to overkill it. Product placement.
Robert placement.